How's it going, guys? Oddly Unorthodox. Back on Total Warhammer 3 again. A little bit of a different game. I don't normally play Nurgle, but I had an interesting build in mind that I just thought, you know what, we'll give it a go. This is my first time using this sort of build, but it was so much fun, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. And because I think it has real potency about it. I think some of the builds you look at and they go, you know, it's quite difficult to pull it off, or it can be quite difficult to imagine how to use it, but not this build. So, it's Nurgle, Wood Elves and Bretonnia on one team, which as you can imagine is a weird alliance, versus Lizardmen, Cathay and Dwarfs. A bit more of an easier thinking alliance on their side. I went for a simple strategy of, I went quadruple Chaos Warriors of Nurgle, double Plague Bearers, one squad of Marauders, double Soul Grinder, and then an Exalted Great and Clean one. Now you can do this build with Kugath, but I like to bring an Exalted mainly because I liked the melee hitting sort of prowess. So, the thing that you're going to see here is I start both of my Soul Grinders and my Exalted Great and Clean one behind this sort of rock, mainly because I didn't know the Dwarf player might have set up quite a sort of box with cannons and that this side, which I don't want my Soul Grinders and my Great and Clean one taking an absolute pounding before they even get in. So, going forwards, a big idea of this build is to have some meaty infantry that can take a fair amount of beating that you can pop heals on, and then having these three. This dynamic trio is the recipe for success. Now the Soul Grinders are absolutely badass anyway, and their ranged attack is unreal, does a lot of damage. People don't notice how much damage it actually does. It poisons, so if they're shooting into your own units, or like things fighting your units, that you know it's taking their stats down quite quickly, and it's just taking the edge off. The whole point about playing Nurgle is you want to be in a slow grind. Your best spot is to be stuck in melee, just slowly grinding through the enemy. So they go with double Stegodon, which I didn't really think they would have. So I'm happy they're firing at my Exalted Great and Clean one, because I tend to move them a little bit to try and juke. So I know I've got to play against these two factions realistically, because that's the way it's sort of set up. I've managed to avoid the sort of cannons and stuff like that, thank God. But I'm going to have to primarily fight these, whereas I need to buy enough time that my ally can stomp the Dwarfs. So I'll push up. That's all. Nurgle has one speed, it's forward, and it's very slow. And there is nothing fast about Nurgle. I'll now go back into normal speed so you guys can sort of see as it plays out. So he's got Chameleon Skinks. I'm just going to keep moving forwards. I can't sit back and shoot at them because it just sort of defeats the purpose then. I'll give them a chance to set up cannons and that fire facing my way. So I just run out. Real simple strategy. I love it. It's just so much fun. So I'm moving around a little bit, trying to avoid taking as much shots as possible from the Stegodons until I can get them into melee. Another great reason for the Exalted Great and Clean one is it gives you good access to being able to punch down these dinosaurs. Because even though he's a spellcaster, you know, he's still 413 weapon strength, poisoning, magic attacks. He's quite a monster. And he's quite scary. This is a common screen you will see. But I'm happy at the minute because I've got both Lords over here. They're using their magic on me. You know, I'll drop all their melee defense with the Blight Swarm. And now it's time to bump and grind. You can see already the Soul Grinder shots are coming in. You know, hurting them. And my Soul Grinders are quite uncontested at the minute. No one's really trying to stop them. He's got this sort of trio of two Stegodons and Mazdamundi, but it's not really going to work out for him because I've got so much healing. I am happy to take all of these spells to the face because at the end of the day, I'll just pop Fleshy Abundance. Yes, it's fire damage, so it's quite inconvenient, but at the end of the day, it's just what it is. So he tries to send his Blood Dragon Lord in. Never do this into an Exalted Great and Clean One, because you're a large target on your little horse, and he's just going to beat the living daylights out of you. That's through the scales of the core and the damage resistance. As soon as both of those disappear, he's going to get absolutely smacked. As you can see, yeah, we've took a fair few casualties, but he's spending all of this trying to deal with me, whereas the dwarf player's having a really awful time trying to shut down the amount of cavalry that Bretonia and the Wood Elves brought. So he realises that he doesn't want to get hit by a bell anymore. I dropped Fecundity, which is obviously spreading, healing everything, topping everyone's HP up, and just being a general nuisance. The Soul Grinders, they're doing their jobs, shooting into my own squads, but it is what it is. The Chaos Warriors are tying up squads and trying to stop everything from shooting at me. But as you can see, he's spending all of his spells here, which, you know, he's getting good value for. He's only killed 2 models. But imagine if he was using that on the Bretonian Cavalry, the Archers, or the Wood Elf Archers. Whereas I'm quite happy. I mean, these Gyrocopters, they're anti-infantry. They've not got any armour piercing. I don't really have to worry about them. So we go here. He's still popping more spells, trying to get rid of me. Comets and all sorts. I'll start pulling some squads out, like I told you the other day. Don't put all your squads into one pit if you know the enemy has a magic caster. But I'm quite happy. I'm getting hit by more spells, but they're wasting all of their magic on me. Whereas the Dinosaurs and Master Mundi's getting absolutely worked. We drop another Blight Swarm, dropping their melee defense. And they realise they probably do not want this fight. Do not be scared for your squads to get massively injured. They're a lot tougher than what you'd imagine. You know, these guys are getting shut down. The Soul Grinders are really just having quite a happy day. You know, popping shots in, absolutely annihilating squads. And my Great and Clean One's just beating Master Mundi. Even through his buffs and his shielding, it's not a fight he wants to be in. The Great and Clean One's quite a brute. And because he's constantly poisoning you, he's constantly doing damage per second. Obviously he's healing as soon as he presses any spell. He's just an absolute nightmare to deal with. If I was them, I'd probably... The Cafe player should have helped the Wood Elf player. And the Lizard Men probably should have just run his skinks in and stuff like that and tried to tar pit me. He's going to try and heal Master Mundi up, I'm guessing. Did he not bring Apotheosis? He didn't, by the looks of it. He just brought Comet. Fair enough to him. He sends his Gyrocopters in, realising he probably needs to stop me shooting. But the problem is 2 Soul Grinders, armour piercing. They're going to go to town on the Gyrocopters. He soon realises that actually he doesn't want this fight whatsoever. It's one of those beautiful things playing Nurgle that I can ignore them, they can't ignore me. You know, the Gyrocopters are being absolutely broken. But we're still tying these down. The Exalted Great and Clean One, just punching into these Stegodons. And it's absolutely working them. You mean he's already at 2,680 value and he's got 7 kills. It's really showing how much power he's got. Nowhere near his healing cap, so he's good to go. I've sent these Chaos Warriors in to fight the Umbral Tide, mainly because I just didn't like them shooting at me constantly. So I just thought I'd run something into melee just to bog them down. Same as these Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. And luckily my Soul Grinders are back online, because they decided that they can't really stop me anymore. So he tries to bring Lord Mazdamundi back in, realising that Lord Mazdamundi actually is not going to win this fight. So he drops a net on me, thinking, I'm guessing that he could then shoot me with the Umbral Tide. But I've still got this massive blob, and I'm pushing all of his ranged units back. And now all of a sudden they're realising that there's still a very angry Bretonia Dwarven force. They've spent too much trying to deal with me. And this is the joys of Nurgle, is you get to sit and laugh as they try and spend this much time getting rid of you. So the Soul Grinder's going to run out of ammo in a minute. Anything else I'd be quite scared, but I'll just go punch stuff in melee now instead. And then with Fecundity, I've now got quite a nasty little ganking squad. Who, you know, there's already 1,000 value on that guy, 1,000 value on that guy, purely just from ranged attacks. Those guys are up to wasting their ammo. There's no way they even scratch him. There is an armor piercing version, I believe, with the brimstone guns, which would have been more effective. But these guys are just not so great at dealing with armoured units. You know, they're packing 90 armour apiece. Quite terrifying. At this point, we break the Stegodons off, and basically we just go around in our gank squad. But the game is pretty much done. They've spent way too much time trying to tie me down when I'm not the massive damage dealer in this 3v3. You know, we've got Wood Elf players, Bretonnian players. There's a nasty box running around of Knights Errant, Defenders of the Fleurs de Lis, the Green Knight, and Repents. So that squad there with Earthbloods, because there is a life caster around, not his one, but obviously we have one on the Wood Elf team. So there's just an unholy amount of healing on this team. So as you can see there, is that another comet? Yep. God damn, there's been a lot of comets this game. So he's had an issue there where he's been caught. And I'm just going around punching the dinosaurs. Trading blows. You know, 3,000 value on this guy. 1,100. An important thing to note here as well, there is no healing cap in sight yet. So these are guys who've got so much more to give. And as you can see, a lot of my squads actually hasn't left the battlefield. I think I've lost one squad of Plague Bearers. I think my Marauders are gone. But I think all of my actual Chaos Warriors of Nurgle are still here. 1, 2... They've broke again, but they're coming back. 3, 4. Yeah, all squads of Chaos Warriors are still here. Really quite a testament to how strong those guys actually are. You know, 100 armour, 50 melee defence. Really can't be messed with. This is the thing I do love about Nurgle, is playing just this tanky, sort of slow damage, grinding, attrition sort of play style. People that play tabletop or are common with the sort of Warhammer lore know that it is a very common Nurgle trait, and it's a very common Death Guard trait. So really quite cool. And those that come with tabletop again, you know, Mortari and the Blight King, stuff like that, absolute nightmares. Death Shroud Terminators, awful to try and deal with. But as you can see, we're roaming up, but this game is pretty much done. I'll give it a little bit of a fast forward because we pretty much break everyone off here. You know, we send those guys in on the Iron Breakers just to sort of break them, but we know the game's over. Ungrim is no way in carrying this. So I decided to send the gang squad over to punch Ungrim a bit. Kill him nice and quickly, hopefully. But as you can see, by the end of it, it's just... They actually had 800 more units than us, but I just think the quality of our units was a lot better. And I definitely didn't win this game solo, but I think it was definitely helpful. They spent a lot of winds of magic trying to stop me in the first place. So we managed to break him down here. But you know, you can see these Soul Grinders, plus the Excited Grain Cleaners, now hit his cap, but he's still got a bit of healing left. They had so much more to give. Now to look at the values, which you know I love doing. And the Exotic Great and Clean one with 3/4 of his HP left, 3,200 value. The Soul Grinders with 1,300 value, but they've still got all their HP pretty much, and a lot of healing to come. And then even the Chaos Warriors, you know, held their own for what sort of just got sent in to butter units up to buy time for my trio. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I do like giving you something a little bit different here and then. Remember, like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy this sort of stuff. Don't be afraid to leave a comment if there's a certain build that you like the idea of, that you've maybe theory crafted and want to see put in play. or a build maybe that you've been using for a year and you think it's the best thing since sliced bread. I'll catch you on the next one, guys. This has been Oddly Unorthodox.